Okay. So hi everyone. So it's my first time at talking at Insomniac, so I'm pretty excited. Hopefully you will like the talk. Today I'm going to make a presentation about a technique I called browser caching smuggling, and it's going to be mostly about red team, social engineering, some malware development, and hopefully, once again you'll like it. So to begin with, who am I? My name is Aurélien Chalot. On the internet, I'm known as Deft. I'm a hacker, sysadmin, and security researcher at Orange Cyber Defense. Out of the cybersecurity, I also like calisthenics and philosophy. And if I'm telling that, it's because it's going to have an importance in the talk. Before starting the technique, I just wanted to thank the people, some people. I wanted to thank the Orange Cyber Defense company, the crew, and most of the Frenchies with whom I'm working on a daily basis. It's pretty amazing to have such talented persons to talk to work with, to try out and break things with. So yeah, shout out to you guys. You're in the room, so thanks. I also wanted to talk about the hide and seek community. Maybe you don't know this. This is a French community. This is the reason why you may not know. But basically, we created that back in 2017, and I grew up with these guys in the cybersecurity field, and we're still doing a lot of toolings. You may have heard of the OSINT industry, which is developed by a part of one guy of the hide and seek. So yeah, I wanted to bring some light to them as well. So yeah, I told you today we're going to talk about red team, mostly red team. I assume pretty much everyone knows what the red team assessment is, but if there is anyone not knowing, don't worry, I'm going to give you a few information about it. So, a red team assessment is a special part of the pen testing job. So, as you may know, pen testing is about finding vulnerabilities, exploiting them, showing the client there is a business impact for them. But when you're going for the classic internal assessments, you're not worrying about detection. You're not worrying about the blue team and the sysadmins. What you want is to find as much as vulnerability as you can, so you can have the most powerful impact for the company and protect them from the inside. When you're doing a red team assessment, what you want to do is to simulate a real threat. It could be like an APT, an advanced persistent threat. It could be a state-sponsored attacker. But the idea is not to compromise everything in whatever the way you want. The idea is to be the stealthiest possible, so you don't want to be caught by the blue team. So yeah, this is why we call that a real simulation. Most of the time, red team assessments occurs in 4 stages, sorry. The first one is the target recon. So let's say you're working against the Orange Cyber Defense company. What you want to know is who the company, what the company is doing, who's working in the company, who's the chief, who is doing the cybersecurity. You also want to know what are the assets you can attack on the internet. So what are the domains, the IPs, the ACE numbers, for example, which will be used to retrieve the IP list of the client. You want to retrieve as well sensitive information about the information system. So for example, there are a lot of ways you can do that. You can go on LinkedIn. You can go check who's working at the company in the cybersecurity crew, and you will have a lot of information in the job title. So it occurs a lot of time that we have the guy responsible for the blue team saying, "Hey, I'm working with Cortex Palo Alto. Hey, I set up the Zscaler network monitoring tool." So these are informations you want to have, because if you have these informations, you will be able to adapt your payloads and the way you attack the company as well. Now, there is a last thing you want to know to do when you're doing the target recon. Basically, you want to find as much as possible as pictures and videos of the guys you're targeting. There is a simple reason for that. We all have a badge hanging at our neck. When we're doing the physical break-in, what you want to have is a copy of that. And you just don't want to have a working copy. You want to have a copy that looks like the real badge as well. And often you will find people either outside of the building you're targeting or on the internet posting pictures of them with the badge. And you can then have the picture, take a look at what the badge looks like, make a copy, and then you will have a more legitimate way of breaking in. The next part is the initial access. This is the one we're going to talk about mostly in this talk. Basically, it's how you get the foothold into the network of the clients. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more on the next slide about the different ways you can have the access. But yeah, the idea is, how do I get the foothold and how can I operate inside the network? Then there is the objective access. So, as I mentioned before, you're not going for the domain admin account or the domain admin groups. Yeah, you could do, but it's not what you want to do in Red Team generally. What you want to do is, what you do in the first place is a call with your client, during which you're asking for him to give you the trophies. The trophies could be like access to the emails of the CIO. It could be get access to the research project which was paid. The company invested $3 billion. The idea is to determine what are the trophies, what you want as a client to be reached by the red teamers. And so you, during the red team assessment, your goal is obviously to get access to this, whatever the way. Just remember, you're going to want to be as less noisy as possible. And the last part is the cleanup and reporting. So obviously, you created, you infected computers, you backdoored some servers, you created account on the ID. You don't want that to be still on the network, so you're going to clean up your traces and then report to the client. And when you're doing your red team assessment, you want to do a report that is the most precise as possible. For a simple reason, you want to show them what is the business impact for them. You want to show them that you were able to break into the company, and you want to show them that nobody saw you. So there is an actual threat. Someone could do the same thing but be a bad guy. And concerning the initial access, it is actually composed of two sub-stages. So there is a bug here, but whatever. The first part is the payload delivery. So how do you get access? If you're doing phishing, for example, the payload delivery could be like sending your malware to the guy you're targeting, and how you're executing the malware. So this is the second part. I don't know what happened here, but whatever. So yeah, there are two stages, and the first one we're going to talk about is actually the technique I'm going to show you right now. So yeah, basically when you're doing the red team, for the initial access, you have three ways of getting inside. The first way, and what I consider to be probably the easiest, will be to target the external perimeter. So you find the IPs, you find the domains, you look for vulnerabilities. If there is no vulnerability, what you can do is find the CMS, find the WordPress, whatever the version. You get the code from GitHub or whatever, and you try to find 0-day. So this happened. There are a lot of people doing red teams that do that. And it's, in some way, it's probably the easiest way because the two others imply some user interaction, which is kind of arbitrary. So, but yeah, the second way of breaking in is social engineering. So you can call someone and tell him, okay, I'm the support. Your computer was infected. Can you please run this PowerShell one-liner to disinfect. And so obviously you're going to see, I'm going to use that in the this presentation. But yeah, basically you're relying on human bias. You could also send phishing the same way. Hey, you won a prize, you won a place for the Olympic Games. Click here, fill your credentials, and here you go. And obviously, it's not going to be good for the guy targeted. The last thing you can do is drop some USB keys. So you go to the parking of the company you're targeting, you drop a USB key waiting for someone to plug it. You can also drop the Ninja cable, which is a little bit more stealthier, and regular people, if we can say that, are not sensibilized to this, so you can do that. The last one is what we saw yesterday evening, physical break-in. So you can break the door, you can jump over the protections at the building, this is another opportunity. And then what you can do once you're inside is you can either steal a computer from the company. So you get access to a legitimate computer with the VPN and stuff, so everything is configured. This is easy. Or you can just find the printer, plug the Raspberry Pi, which is going to be your pawn box, and wait for it to call back the C2 server on the internet. Now you leave the building and you get the access inside the network. So thanks, Simon, for the slide. I didn't do that. About the browser cache smuggling. So just to give you a few information, I was working at my company. I was doing some research and I was like, okay, there are a lot of ways I can get an initial access and deliver a payload. I could send a mail. I could send the LNK file that contains a zip file that contains an ISO, whatever. But it's already known, and I don't like that. So I thought, okay, I need to find another way to drop malwares on my target's computer. And what's the best thing to do than rely on a mechanism that is trusted by computers, by EDRs, and that would download specific information or files and I thought there is one actual component that does that, and it's browsers. So, to show you what I was thinking of, the first thing I did is I connected to the Orange Cyber Defense website, and I realized in the network panel that a lot of files of downloaded. So you can see that there are SVGs, there is a PNG, and obviously there is also the CSS, the HTML, the JavaScript files, and so on. This represents approximately 355 kilobytes of data. The thing is, if you reconnect to that website, it will only take 4.83 kilobytes of data. The reason why it works is because when you first connected to the website, the files were cached by your browser. It means that they were downloaded first, stored in your computer, and when you go back to that website, it's not the browser is not going to refetch the data. It is going to find them locally on your computer. So you already see where we're going to go, but the idea is that we're going to use this caching system on our behalf. And I gave you a piece of history stuff. The first implementation of caching system was, it can be traced back to the Mosaic browser released in 1993. I wasn't even born, but interesting. All right. Now, what does the caching system looks like? If you want to take a look at it, you can. In the first part of the presentation, I'm targeting Firefox, but I'm going to show you Google Chrome as well because it's the most interesting one in the companies. So you can go to that specific URL, the about double cache storage disk, which is going to show you the numbers of files that are cached on your computer, the amount of data as well, and the path to where the files are stored. In that case, we can see it is C users WinDev app data local. Mozilla Firefox profiles a random string default release KH2. So if you go to your computer right now and go to that directory, you will find a bunch of files. We can also see where, these files actually, we can see that we have some files downloaded from Orange Cyber Defense. We can see the size, we can see the number of times it was fetched, which means how many times you accessed that file in the last days, when the file was modified, and when it is going to expire. Now, if you click on one of the blue links I mentioned before, you will have the following output. And what is interesting here is that you have two things. The first thing is the response HTTP headers. So you have the HTTP headers back, which were sent back by the web server. And you have obviously your file, which is cached. And the most important part is that it is not transformed at all. So here we can see that the content type is an image JPEG. That means that the JPEG is actually stored in the directory, and I can use it. I can show it, take a look at it. And this is going to be the most important part of this research. There is no transformation, no compression, no encryption. Now, if we take a look at the data, this directory, we will see the following. So each cached file is stored locally as a random name, which is composed of numbers and characters. And you will have first you will have the file content, so the binary data, which is the image, and then you will have the HTTP header. And now this is very interesting, because if it was the other way around, the technique I'm going to show you wouldn't be, it would be a little bit more complicated to use. But the thing is, since the file is stored as is since the cached file is stored as is, it will be easier to exploit, and I'm going to show you that a little bit later. Another thing we need to know is, how caching systems work. How do they decide what kind of file we're going to cache and what kind of file we're not going to? Generally, caching systems will cache HTML files, although it depends, because, the HTML is supposed to change regularly. It will cache the CSS file, JavaScript files, image, medias, and web fonts, which are the WOOF extension. Now, how do they know what kind of files to cache? They rely on the content type header, HTTP header. And who control content type HTTP headers is the web server itself. And now we end up in a strange situation where if you've done web assessments, you probably have told a lot of time to your client to not trust users' supplied inputs, because there is always going to be someone that will insert a SQL payload. There is always someone that is going to insert some JavaScript alert or anything. Yet we do have the web browsers that do trust the content type header, and this is the culprit point of this presentation. Since we are the web server, since we control the web server, we can modify its configuration. And so this is what I did. At this point, I didn't know if the technique was valid or not. But the idea is that this is on the left a legitimate Nginx configuration file. The thing is, I added this specific block of data which says if someone requests the calc.dll, you override the MIME types, which are based on the etc MIME types file, and you say that whatever it is, you say that this is an image.jpg, And now all we have to do is to create a small HTML file and say, okay, I'm going to include my image. The source is the calc.dll, and now we'll have the demo. Just to be a little bit more precise, this calc.dll was generated via MSF Venom, and yet we will see that it's not spotted by any antivirus yet, or EDR. Yesterday I ended up watching 5 conferences, and I was pretty stunned at people doing live demos. You guys have nerves. But even though my demos last like 10 seconds and the setup is not that amazing, I recorded them because I'm so scared of the demo effect. And hopefully I don't have the demo effect on my video. It would be a shame. Basic setup. We have an Explorer, we have the cache directory here, and we have our HTML page. Now if I load the page, we can see that the cache is filling up. There is a strange file that is 10 kilobytes, while the page itself does not contain anything. So it's a little bit suspect. If we open it, we can see the following. So hopefully you can see, I'm not sure, but if you don't, you can see that there are some suspicious strings in this file. You can see the set thread context, get thread context, virtual alloc-x, write process memory, create snapshot, and you can see the calc.exe string. So obviously this is not a JPEG yet. If you take a look at the content type, it was considered an octet stream, and for some reason, the browser trusted it. That's actually not usual. I think I messed up that demo. It should be image JPEG, but whatever. So I succeeded into crashing the demo live, having the live demo effect, but whatever. So yeah, we know that at this point there is the DLL somewhere, which is our malware, our basic malware. What we want to do now is execute it. So this is the second part of the talk. Initially, I didn't want to go into that, but just showing the browser stuff is not enough to me. I wanted to prove that this can be used in a real life assessment, and especially provide you guys some insights of red team operations. So let's say we have the file. We know that this is 8692. What we want to do is run it via run DLL32. The reason why we want to do that is just to have the calc popping. But it doesn't work as is. In fact, if you do that, you will realize that there is an error. The specified module could not be found. That is actually a security measure designed by Microsoft developers to prevent executing arbitrary files. So we may end up having the no extension, no execution, unless you add a dot to the file name and execute it once again. For some reason, run.dll won't execute the file if there is no extension, but if there is an empty extension, it will work. So I suspect there is probably some research to be done on the run.dll 32 binary, but I didn't have time, no motivation as well. But this is strange. But yeah, we have the execution. And to remind you, all of that is possible because metadata are appended to the file. If it was the other way around, run.dll will see that, hey, there is the server string. I cannot execute that, so I'm not going to. But since the binary data is stored first, we have the MZ magic byte, which is the PE magic byte, so the DLL is executed. Now here comes the fun part. We have the way of delivering the malware. Now what we want to do is to weaponize it. So we're going to need a few things. First, a target. In that case, I'm going to target myself because you don't expect me to target anyone, obviously. Then we need some information about the target. So we can go on the social networks profiles of this guy and see that, well, he's working at OCD, worked at Veolia, whatever. He's been studying at the ESGI. Doesn't matter. And if we go to its Twitter account, we can see that the guy likes philosophy. So probably if I send this guy a CV with a link pointing to philosophy site, he will click on it to take a look at the file, what its content on the server, sorry. Now we need the phishing page. So we need to create something that the guy we're targeting would want to go to. So I'm lazy, sorry. I use ChatGPT for that. I tell Chat to create a phishing HTML page about Socrates and its life. And he gave me that, which is, yeah, pretty convincing. I like it. The only thing I added is to include the payload, which is our calc.dll, our malware. And this time we're going to modify the style so that there is no little error, because obviously it's not PNG, so it won't be loaded by your browser. So the calc is hidden, and when the guy is going to click on it, the calc will be downloaded in the cache system. Last thing we need to do is a way to find our DLL amongst all cached files. Because as you've seen, in the third or fourth slide, I had 384 cached files. Now, how do I get to know which one is my DLL, which one is my malware? The first thing you could do is to run some PowerShell or CMD file to grep for the MZ magic byte. But if you were to have, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 attempts, so there is 2 or 3 DLLs cached in the browser, you won't be able to know which one is the correct one. But remember, there are metadata that are added to the file. So what you can do is simply add a HTTP header that says, hey, I'm here, And in the end, you will have the string marker in your cached file just after your DLL. And now all you have to do is to do a select string to find it. Second demo. So this time I'm going to show you the whole process. Oops, sorry. The whole process with the execution. So the cache is empty. I'm loading the web page. Cache gets filled. There is the DLL. Now we have this specific PowerShell one-liner that basically says for each file in the Mozilla Firefox profile's default cache 2 entries, you grep for the DLL here a string. And if you find this string, well, you execute it using run DLL. And it works. So at this point, we found a way to both deliver the malware and execute it. Thank you. So, thing is, that's obviously not OPSEC. You don't want to do that for a real red team assessment. Reason is simple. There are too much IOCs and the correlation capabilities are way too high. If you want your target to be able to infect itself, actually, what you want to do is tell the guy to open PowerShell, to run the PowerShell one-liner that you gave him. The run DLL32 execute the binary, which is going to be hosted by the sci-host binary. And then you will have an unusual binary communicating on the internet. So this is a set of events that can be found by the blue team. So if you're doing red team, absolutely do not use run DLL32. This is way more too suspicious. So what we can do? Well, in the red team field, there are two tools, legitimate tools that are known to be the perfect target. Maybe you've heard of them. The reason why these two tools are a really good target is they are used on a daily basis by absolutely anyone, and they communicate on the internet over HTTPS. So the idea is we're going to blend our network traffic inside these two binaries. Now the question is, how do we do that? Well, there are a few ways. Sorry, I'm spoiling it. There are two ways. The dirty one is to create a binary that is going to inject into Teams or OneDrive. It is going to inject its own payload inside the binary. The thing is, if you do that, there are a lot of IOCs once again. It's opening a process remotely, writing into its memory space, executing a thread is a set of events that is known by EDR and AV. You don't want to do that. What you can do is that on the oldest versions, that is important to remember, of these two tools, they are installed in the local app data of your user profile. So here I showed you that the Teams binary is actually installed in the user's WinDev app data local Microsoft Teams. And the thing is, as a standard user, you control everything in that directory. So you can modify pretty much whatever you want. Now, yeah, I spoiled myself again, but whatever. Now, if we take a look at how Team works, we will see that to work correctly, it is going to load a bunch of DLLs. So DLLs are shared functions that are used across the system. And basically, to load these DLLs, it will follow what is called the Windows search order. So basically, it will first take a look at the DLL, in the directory where the binary is stored. So in the user's WinDev app data local Microsoft Teams current directory. Then if the DLL is not here, it will go in the Windows System 32, in the Windows system, in the directory from where the bin was executed. So if you're in C users WinDev, it will take a look at here for the DLL as well. And lastly, it will go in take a look at the path directories that are filled in the environment variable. Now what you want to do is to execute Teams, have the proc monitor tool running in the background, and take a look at where is he loading the DLL. And there are a few things interesting. The first thing is we can see that it is loading a bunch of DLLs, which are actually located in the local app data directory. If you don't know anything about the Windows system, create file does not mean actually create the file. It means try to have an under on the file, and if you don't have one, you can write the file. But yeah, basically it's give me access to that file. And the most important thing to remember is the result. This column shows the result of the create file operation on the dbg-help.dll, and it says, well, it's not found. That means that since it's not found, the Teams browser process is going to look at the system32 dbg-help.dll, and it is here. So it's going to load the DLL. So what you want to do is simply put your malware here. You want to create the dbg-help.dll yourself, which is going to host your malware. And once Teams is going to run, it is going to load your DLL, trigger the payload, you'll get the access, and Teams will be running in the background as usual. Now, this is not that easy, to be honest. Well, it is not difficult, but there are a few steps you need to do. You cannot just place the random DLL here. If you do that, the Teams process is going to crash because it is expecting to find some functions in the DLL itself. If the DLL does not contain the functions, well, Teams cannot operate correctly, so it will crash. So what you want to do is take at the legitimate version.dll, which is going to be our target, and which is stored in the system32 directory. You're going to generate the definition. So this means basically the GenDef tool takes a look at the function exported by the DLL, and it says, okay, there is that function, that function, that function, that function. And what you want to do is create this file, which is a linker file, which is going to say, in the binary, in the DLL we're going to compile in the future, if anything tries to call the get file version info A, redirect it to the version DLL, which is in the system32 directory. So basically, we end up having the following situation. When Teams is getting launched, it will load the malicious version.dll that is stored in the local app data. There is one part that will execute the payload and get us a reverse shell, and the other part that is going to forward the API calls to the legitimate DLL. That way we have the binary, the Teams binary that is running correctly and containing the Teams Microsoft.com domain, and we have the reverse shell TCP that is going to contact us. Now, the demo. Same as usual, we load the website. Before I'm going to show you that there is no version.dll here, so sorry if you're not seeing that, but you have to trust me. Now we're going to run a small PowerShell one-liner once again that is actually the same as before. The only thing is we're not executing run DLL. We are just going to copy the DLL, the cached file, to the local app data directory of Teams. Now the DLL is here. And all we have to do now is launch Teams, and hopefully we didn't break the system. And as you can see here, there is the Teams process created, and we have the shell down here. Now, to be completely honest, I used to have the demo where the Teams process actually shows up in front of, everything you can see here. For some reason, it breaks. I don't know why, but I can assure you this technique does work. If you were to go on a real red team assessment, you can do that, and it will actually show us up to you. So once again, we found a way to dissimulate our malware. The only thing we need to know now is why I forgot about Google Chrome. What about Google Chrome? Google Chrome is a little bit more specific. There is no entry files for each files that are cached. Files are stored in SQLite databases. So it's a little bit more complicated because you either have to find a way to parse the database or to extract the data inside. And at this point, I didn't know what to do, actually. I was stuck until a friend of mine from the SensePost team at OCD told me that, my approach was to generate a random string that you can prepend to the DLL. And in your PowerShell, you can search for that string across the SQLite database. And since you know the size of the DLL you're sending to your target, you can calculate the offset, retrieve the DLL, and execute it. Now I got an even better idea. If you can prepend a marker, you can append the marker as well to your DLL. And so this is the middle screen. Basically, I'm creating the MSF Venom calc DLL. I'm saying, okay, I want to add the in DLL before the DLL and the out DLL after the DLL. And now all we need to do is to create the PowerShell one-liner that is going to read the database's file. Since they are not compressed or encrypted, you can run a specific regex, which is going to look for anything between in DLL and out DLL. You extract that content and you store it in the Teams process, in the Teams directory. And so now we got the final demo for the Google Chrome browser. You will see that it's going to break here for a simple reason. There is an error. The thing is, Chrome does have a handle on all the databases file, and in Windows you cannot open a file if another one already got a handle with specific options, obviously. So what you want to do first is to close Chrome. You can do that with the PowerShell one-liner. So I'm going to close it. We run the PowerShell once again, and now we've got the execution. So this time I used run DLL, but you can do the same thing, copy the cached file to the Teams directory and have Teams load your DLL. Okay, and now the most important, yeah, because actually, why would the guy run such a powerful a PowerShell one-liner? Now we're going to talk about social engineering. Obviously, we have a few informations we can use as red teamers. The first one is we know that the target clicked on our website. We know that because, well, we monitored access to that website. He knows as well. He knows that he clicked on it. He's not going to lie to himself. So that means the DLL is in this cache. We can use that common knowledge to act as the support and tell him, hey man, your computer was infected. We can do that calling him directly or sending a mail, doesn't matter. And now we've got what is called the authority bias, which is going to work for us. The guys, actually gets pretty scared. Like he knows he was infected because he went on that website, and we can use that to tell him, okay, yeah, don't worry, we know how to delete the malware from your computer. It's simple. You just went to that website. We know it. We know that the DLL, we know where the malware is. All you need to do is to run the following command, and you're good to go. And you can even lie to him saying, yeah, don't worry. You can see that this PowerShell one-liner copy a file to the Teams directory. It's for us to get the file and take a look at it. This is basic psychology, human psychology. This is a really good book. If you don't know that, you can take a look at it. Now, I want to be clear, social engineering is very important in red team assessment. But I guess everyone here watched Mr. Robot. Everyone saw him crushing the guy trying to get into the data center. Do not do that. Obviously, you're talking to humans, to human people. You don't want to crush them. If the guy is suspicious, do not just move to another target. It's a simulation. You're here to protect the people. You're not here to break them mentally and to scare them. No, I have to say that because it's pretty intense for the target. When you get social engineered, you can freak out pretty easily, and we don't want that. Okay, so you've seen the entire kill chain, which allows us to get an initial access. Now, the reason why would you use that for a red team assessment? The reason is pretty simple, mostly because this technique or this set of technique relies on an incredibly powerful principle, which is the task decorrelation. So if we take a look at the kill chain, we can see that first, the malware is silently dropped in the browser's cache. The malware isn't triggered after being dropped. It means it's not executed. However, you can detonate it later. Since the cache expires 1 month later, the malware can stay here and you can detonate it later if you want to. So you can use another social engineering scenario if you want to make sure the target executed. The malware is not executed via a lolbus, which is known binaries like run DLL32, and it blends into legitimate network traffic. And yeah, mostly because that's the correlation. Since there is nothing, you can. It's pretty complicated to correlate the events for the blue team, and this is a very powerful thing to use as a red teamer and as a pen tester. So I've seen a lot of people developing malwares bypassing AV ADOs. The thing is, you don't even have to do such things. You just have to know, to get an insight of how EDOs work. Most of them, they correlate information. So for example, Priyank yesterday morning, he talked about the DP API secrets stored in the Google Chrome databases. Most of the tools are like Sharpound, no, sorry, not Sharpound, the DP API tool, I forgot the name, whatever. This tool, for example, what it's going to do is get the secret, decrypt it via the DP API, and give you the result. But if you get the secret manually and you already know the password of the guy you're targeting, you can decrypt the secret yourself offline. And so you're going to decorrelate two actions that, if they were executed together, would be a high IOC of infection or trying to compromise. So my point is, you don't have to write huge malware evasive stuff. All you need to know is decorrelate the most you can, and you will see that most of the EDOs and heavies won't be able to find you, and it's going to be a nightmare for the blue team as well. Now, in the other way, for the blue team, what you can do is, since people are going to, well, decorrelate, what you should maybe do is, if you are suspicious about a computer, if for some reason someone is launching a PowerShell and it was never sent before, maybe you should still take a look at it, because it's not usual. There is no reason the HR department runs the PowerShell exe. So yeah, take care of that, because I know for sure this is going to be, well, it is known for probably a few years, maybe more. But I believe a lot of people are going to use that more and more, so take care of that. And obviously, I know we are full of hackers this year and red teamers, but I still want to protect people because, well, that's my job. I'm going to give you a few hints of what you can do to prevent that. The first thing is to harden the laptops you give to your users. There is no reason someone from the HR, once again, I'm targeting them, but there is no reason these guys should have access to the scripting engines, which are PowerShell. There is no reason they can download Python, they can download the Docker machine. I've seen that before. I've seen companies where standard users were able to download these things from the software manager itself. What you want to do is create special groups. If you're a developer, you have access to Docker, you have access to Python. If you're not, there is no reason you should get access to this. Concerning PowerShell, this is a very used tool. Unfortunately, it is pretty complicated to disable it because it is used by a lot of tools to run. What you can do, however, so you can try to disable it if you have the capability of, you can do it. If you cannot, what you can do is enforce the signature scripting. So you can say, okay, basically, you only allow execution of scripts, if they are signed by my security team. And you can do that using the certificate authority, the ADCS things, if you have that. Last thing you can do for the laptop hardening is to install tools in C programs. The reason why you want to do this is standard users cannot write in these directories, while they can in the local app data. And for the detection, there is a simple thing you can do already. It's to raise an alert if a process that is not a browser touches cached file. There is no reason PowerShell goes for the data SQLite databases of Chrome. There is no reason CMD goes for the cached entries of the Firefox browser. So this is a simple rule to create. and it is highly effective as well. Unless someone is trying to hack you using this technique, it's not going to trigger a lot. And obviously you can monitor everything that is located in local app data. If you see suspicious things being dropped in these directories, this means that there is someone targeting you. You've been probably already compromised. So yeah, take a look at it. Okay, so now I'm done with the technical part. If I were to suggest you to remember two things of that talk, the first one would be the decorrelation thing, which is incredibly powerful for the pen testers and red teamers. And yeah, take a look at it because it's going to be used. The second thing is more of a management thing. This idea came from a stupid idea of mine. I was like, okay, how can I drop things on the computer without, in a new way, without triggering any AV or EDRs? And I was like, well, there is this browser caching system we can use maybe, and it ended up working. But at the beginning, it was a dumb idea of mine. And in the hacking field, I feel that most of the time it happens that way. Some people have small ideas, stupid ideas, whatever, and they end up digging the idea, going further, and in the end they end up creating ingenious tools, very smart tools. So the thing is, if you're a manager surrounded by, or if you are just a researcher surrounded by people, colleagues, friends, if someone ever tells you something that I heard, which is, I feel like this is a stupid idea, it doesn't matter, it sucks. Just tell them, hey man, that's the job. Most of the, I'm going to repeat myself, but most of the greatest tools comes from a stupid idea. So yeah, go ahead, just do your thing, challenge them, try to see if you can find fake solutions, if you can go further, and yeah, it will end up in a nice talk at Insomniac, I hope. And yeah, basically that's it. If you have questions, don't hesitate.
Hi, thanks for the talk. I got a question, especially about Windows Defender, because I believe that maybe QuickScan, which is working under the hood, won't check the cache. But did you verify that with the full scan? Because especially MS Venom payload, I believe, would be very quickly detected. So you're asking me if the Defender found the DLL in the cache file? Yeah. No, it didn't. And even with the full scan, because the Windows Defender got like the, quick scan, which is working under the hood, and you can like order it to do the full scan. So if you run the full scan, it will find it because it's just a MSF Venom binary. The thing is, when the file is dropped in the cached entry, since there is no extension, there is no reason for Microsoft to scan it. However, the moment you will rename it to exe or DLL, now you've got the scan. And so obviously you will have to develop a malware that is going to evade static detection, and obviously the dynamic one as well. But that's another subject, yeah. Okay, thanks. You're welcome.
Yep, good talk. I had two questions. The first question is a follow-up to that question, which is if you don't add an extension, or you add a null extension, so the dot but nothing else.
Sorry, I don't listen. I don't hear you. There's so much noise.
Sorry. If you don't add a proper extension and you just do the period with no extension, would Defender catch that? Because it's not an exe or anything that Defender's looking for. So would it catch it with just a null extension?
There are a few of them that are still scanned. For example, the text files might be, the zip files might be as well. It depends, to be honest. It depends of the tool you're looking at. The security tool that is going to look at the malware, yeah.
Yep. And I guess, have you had any thoughts about automatic detonation? Is there any way that you've found to not require user action to detonate?
So to automate what, sorry?
The detonation, the execution.
Oh yeah, you can, obviously you can, well, what you can do is simply give the guy a PowerShell one-liner that is going to create a scheduled task. You can do that, for example, or you can, infect the run once, registry quiz as well, although I wouldn't do that. The best thing, the things I recommend is to rely on the legitimate process that are being executed on a daily basis, Teams and OneDrive, most of them, because at some point they are going to run it, so you will have the shell, whatever.
Yeah.
That's the easiest and most stealthiest way you can do, in my opinion.
Thank you.
So thank you. I think we should cut the questions now, but if you get a question, you can just ask him later, or I think he will answer you.
Yeah, I'm just going to stay here if you want to tell me.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.